Hello YouTube. Today I won't be reviewing any books, but I'll be talking about a couple of books that I'm rereading after a really long time and just share my thoughts and memories about them. The books that I am reading right now are Harry Potter books. So far I've gone through the first 3 parts, so The Sorcerer's Stone, The Chamber of Secrets, and The Prisoner of Azkaban. And I can't believe how long I haven't read those books. It must have been like 5 years at the very least, and when I started rereading them, I couldn't believe how I'd gone so long without this magical world of Harry Potter. I mean, it all comes right back to you. I think that a lot of people like me that have read them when they were really young kind of feel like coming home. Like you open this book, you start reading, and you're immediately back in this world of magic and sorcery, and you accompany Harry to Hogwarts, and it's just wonderful. Oh, see, that's how long I haven't been reading it. It's a bookmark from 2004. Incredible. So, first time I remember being introduced to Harry Potter was I had part 1 and 2 on cassette, and even though the books that I have are in a different language, when I started reading them, I immediately heard the voice of the narrator from the tapes, and I could remember everything just the way I imagined it back then, before the movie came out. And that's a really interesting thing that I experienced while reading, is that there's so much more detail obviously in the books than in the movies, and because Harry Potter is such a big thing and everybody knows about it and everybody's seen the movies, you just have like this poster image of the characters from the movies, and when you read the book and you look at the cover art, you get a different picture of the whole thing, much more detailed and just much more interesting. So that's the thing that I loved about rereading this. Now, I haven't even seen all of the movies. I've only watched up to like part 4, so that'll definitely be interesting when I go into part 4, 5, 6 now, to just rely on my imagination, which is the great thing about books, that you just you make up your own world in your head. You don't need movies to tell you how the people look. Yeah, the cover art is another thing that I just love about the nice old books. It's just how many details are incorporated here, and I mean, you have the Quidditch theme going on, and you have the unicorn is this fluffy. I do have to say though that Dumbledore looks kind of creepy in this. Also love the art of the second one, though I do have to say it's probably my least favorite book, but just the cover art is so much more creative than later on. Thing I think you can see is that, of course, at least the first 2 parts, Harry Potter, of course, started as a children's book, and you can see how it's more colorful. Even if you can't call this like a nice happy cover, it's got blood on the wall, but it's more colorful and it's got much more detail. And then as you go on, the covers start becoming darker. And I think the key book, and it's my favorite, and you can see that because it's been read into pieces basically, is The Prisoner of Azkaban, because that's where Harry starts growing up and the story starts becoming more complex, and the world starts having more depth and more just more background to it, and you're introduced to of course Lupin and Sirius, and to the stories about their youth and their time in Hogwarts, and that's just where the whole magic really starts kicking in for me. That's where I start feeling really almost homesick, and I want to go to Hogwarts so bad. Whereas the first two books are, you know, they're introductory, and they're nice and they're magical on their own. But this is where Harry really starts feeling at home, and I as reader do as well. And it's not so much about just the world anymore. You can start actually, the characters actually really start developing here, while still there's something new to learn about the world every single page. New creatures, new characters, new events happening. The world never stops being magical, but you get so much more out of the characters from this book on. An interesting thing, of course, was that knowing the end, and knowing the characters much better than they know themselves at this point, it was interesting to see how the author developed the stories, how she set clues to, you know, it's pretty much always, you know, you're supposed to believe that someone, preferably Snape, is the villain when he isn't, and you catch on to so much more detail about, like, all the clues that she puts, all the little details that you're only supposed to be realizing in the end of the book. One thing that really annoyed me was that in the beginning of every book, and like right up to about the middle, they would keep, like, of the second and third part, I should have to say. I mean, in the first part, of course, they have to explain everything, but as the second and third part, they kept explaining, like, the most basic stuff, like Quidditch, and, you know, repeating Harry's story about how he ended up with the Dursleys and what happened to his parents and what Hogwarts is and who Dumbledore is, and really, really basic stuff, which I understand in the first couple of books, because, you know, before it was clear that it was becoming a really successful series, you might want to have readers catch up that you know, picked up the second book without having read the first one, or maybe I don't know whether somebody who maybe just read the book once would maybe be grateful for that little repetition. And I do have to say, it's well done. It's incorporated into the story and places where it doesn't seem out of place. It's not like they go on an incredibly long tangent that's totally out of context. It's worked in well, but I think it's just unnecessary for most Harry Potter fans. So, that's all I have to say about these first three books. It's been a wonderful experience rereading them. I can't believe that I haven't read them for years, and I'm definitely going to read them much sooner again now. Hope you've enjoyed this video. By all means, share your comments. I'm sure a lot of you have made similar experiences rereading old childhood books. It doesn't even necessarily have to be Harry Potter. I'd appreciate you give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next page. A funny thing that I noticed, take a look at your covers of Harry Potter. He's flying on every single one of his covers. Here on the broomstick, then the phoenix, and then here.